On behalf of the IFSP Council members and the staff of the DBHDS, we appreciate your attendance, time, and attention. Post-meeting content related to this meeting will be available on the My Life, My Community website. Heather, please post a link in the chat. This is a public meeting. While sharing communications, please do not share personal, private, or protected information. Hello, my name is Christine DeHaven, and I'm a member of the IFSP Regional Council, Eastern Region. I have a son that was born with multiple developmental disabilities. This has led me down a path of parental advocacy for my son and others in my community. I believe knowledge is power, and I love to share everything I learn with others, hoping to make the lives of people with disabilities easier. This meeting will now begin. If you have questions, please provide. If you have questions specifically about the IFSP funding, please visit the My Life, My Community website. Heather, please provide the link to the funding page now. Educational topic for tonight. It's never too late. Transition planning resources for adults with developmental disabilities. Please be advised that Kendall St. John was not able to join us this evening. Presenting in her place instead is the main presenter, Kelly Ligon, Training Associate from the Center on Transition Innovations at Virginia Commonwealth University. Typically, we have regional breakout sessions during the Coordinated Council meetings. However, that will not be the case this evening. Instead, we have a panel of people who with lived experiences to discuss the topic and graciously share their journey and answer your questions. Panelists' names are Jessie Monroe, Mary Miller, and Mother Bernadette Miller, and Norma Draper. Kelly Shindell is a captioner from Virginia Hamilton Relay. Heather, please provide the link in the chat for those who may need this resource during the meeting. Hamilton Relay link. If you need technical or have questions unrelated to this meeting agenda, please email ifspcommunity@dbhds.virginia.gov. Heather will share this contact information below.
All right, thank you, Christine, for that introduction. My name is Ebony Atkinson. I'm going to share the ground rules for this meeting this evening. I'm a member of the IFSP Council, State Council, Eastern Region. I currently serve as the Vice President of Community Living and Versability Resources, forging a commitment to enhance the quality of life for individuals with disabilities. I have a master's degree from Towson University, and I serve as a seasoned leader in the fields of case management and community outreach. My expertise spans within intermediate care facilities, waiver services, geriatric care, and support for individuals on the autism spectrum. At the heart of my work, I believe in the power of reciprocal therapeutic relationships that help foster meaningful outcome for all individuals. I truly believe in the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. The intention of this meeting is to provide important information to empower people to shape their own lives and discover the tools to make decisions that change the quality of life. Attendees are encouraged to focus on the main presenters and ask questions within the context of the meeting. So here are some of the ground rules. We ask that you please be respectful of our main presenter, panelists, and attendees. Remember that your microphone is muted. Camera is optional during the meeting. However, if you are speaking, we ask that you turn on your camera to the audience. Please use chat for all communication and questions. IFSP staff will collect your questions and prioritize those questions for response later on in the agenda. If you are unable to type your question in the chat, please use the raise hand feature at the top of the screen, and we will circle back to capture and answer your question. Please be advised, there is no option for private chat messages during this meeting. All comments entered into chat can be seen by all attendees. Questions unrelated to this meeting should be emailed to the IFSP. Heather, please provide the email in the chat. Lastly, Be advised that IFSP can remove anyone from this meeting that is deemed disruptive to other attendees. But we know that will not happen. So once again, we welcome all of DBHDS staff who are in attendance tonight, family, friends, and stakeholders. We would like to acknowledge that Ms. Deanna Parker, DBHDS Director, is also in the audience. At this time, Ms. Deanna, if you would like to make a comment, please do so.
I can get started if Deanna's not there.
Okay. And if Deanna is not going to make a comment, I will turn it over to Ms. Heather Hines.
Thank you so much, Ebony and Christine, and thanks for everybody who's here with us tonight. Before we get started with the main presentation, I wanted to share just a little bit about the Individual and Family Support Program. And as you can see on the slides here, we have 4 main components of our program. The Individual and Family Support Program is a program as part of the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. We help people with developmental disabilities and their families. Our main purpose is to help people who are on the DD waiver waiting list. Some of our programs and resources are also available to people who need help but aren't on the waiting list yet, and also to people who have a DD waiver. The IFSP Community Coordination Program, which you see circled here in red, this program involves our regional and state councils that are made up of people with developmental disabilities, family members, caregivers, and professionals. Council members help to organize council events like the one you're joining tonight. They help to provide information to people on different topics throughout the year in these regional coordinated council meetings. They build local support networks. They act as liaisons with the Individual and Family Support Program, and they share helpful information in their communities. The IFSP funding program is the next quadrant above that one. And that happens once a year when people on the DD waiver waiting list can apply for financial assistance for items and services so that they can continue to live in their homes in the community. Additionally, we offer direct support through partnerships with organizations like Virginia Commonwealth University, Partnership for People with Disabilities, Center for Family Involvement, and the Arc of Virginia. Working with them is great because they provide family and peer mentoring opportunities as well as leadership for empowerment and abuse prevention training. The Center for Family Involvement also supports our council work. You'll see then we also have that quadrant that says Senior Navigator. So that's our My Life, My Community website developed along with Senior Navigator. You may have heard of Virginia Navigator. That's our resource hub, and it's a website that's accessible and it offers information on services and supports and resources. You can also call the toll-free number for help with navigating the website or if you have any other questions. We also have marketing and messaging efforts that help us get important information to people in the community. We have something called the First Steps Guide, and that's available on the My Life, My Community website. I already put a link to that in our chat and in our annual mailer that we send out to everybody who is on the wait list for DD waiver services. We also distribute a monthly digest featuring resource highlights, training opportunities, and upcoming events that are important to people with DD and their families. And if you'd like to stay informed, you can sign up for our email list. And I'll put that link in the chat as well. Or check out that My Life, My Community website. And you can also follow us on Facebook too. And thanks for listening. I want y'all just to know a little bit more about what we do, but we want to get on to the main reason you are here. So I will turn the meeting back over to Ebony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. So tonight we have the pleasure of talking about educational topic for tonight. It's never too late. Transition planning resources for adults with developmental disabilities. Our main speaker tonight is Ms. Kelly Ligon. Please be advised that Kendall St. John was not able to join us this evening, but Ms. Kelly Ligon is here to represent for our main speaker. She is a training associate for the Center on Transition Innovations at Virginia Commonwealth University. Kelly Ligon is a training associate for the Center on Transition Innovations at Virginia Commonwealth University. She has been in the field of special education for over 30 years. Since 2000, she has provided training and technical assistance to educators across Virginia who support students with disabilities. Her passion is preparing students for life after high school. Please help us welcome Ms. Kelly Ligon.
Thank you so much. I think Rhonda's going to pull up the slides. I'm happy to be here. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about transition planning. Next slide, please. We're going to discuss the role and the function of self-determination and transition planning. I'll share strategies for planning for life at any stage and setting goals that lead to a life of your choosing. And finally, I'll discuss and share resources and tools that you can explore later to assist you in planning for employment, education, and community integration. Next slide, please. So transition is not just for high school. Life is full of transition and change, right? When you were younger and in school, you moved from grade to grade, teacher to teacher, school to school, and finally out of high school. And as adults, transitions also occur, whether it's moving to a new place, a new job, meeting new people, or just changes in your daily routine. So developing the skills and resources to support any transition can make everything easier for you. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Next slide, please. Always remember, it's your life. You are in the driver's seat. You decide what you want your life to be. You can have passengers like trusted friends and family to help you navigate, but you are in control. And this is the fun part of being an adult. Next slide, please. So how do you get the skills to be the driver? Well, you do that by developing your skills for self-advocacy and self-determination. Self-advocacy means that you speak up for yourself, or you defend yourself when you need to, or when you need to ask for something. It's part of being self-determined. Next slide. So what is self-determination? Some of you may be familiar with self-determination if you were involved with the I'm Determined project in high school. Self-determination is a set of skills or beliefs and knowledge that you have about yourself and the contributions you can make to your community. It means you know your strengths, your preferences and interests, and the support you need for success. Self-determination helps to guide you in life as you move through different stages and transitions. And self-advocacy is just one element of self-determination. Next slide, please. So self-determination is made up of 9 elements or 9 skills. These are just some of the other skills, knowledge and beliefs that build toward having a stronger self-determination toolbox, if you may. You continue to grow and develop these skills your whole life. So don't worry if you don't have all the skills on this list. We can learn and develop them as we go. So I'll go through each one briefly. So one of the skills is choice making. And that's something that can start at an early age. And we do this all the time in our life, selecting between 2 different options, like what am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? How am I going to get to work? You know, should I call somebody for help or should I ride my bike? You know, different choices you make. The next is decision making, which is considering different solutions um, considering different solutions, and you decide which one to do. These can be big decisions, and we'll talk about this more in a moment. And then there's problem solving. So being able to find solutions to difficult problems. Goal setting and attainment. You can set a goal, you make a plan, you take action, and you meet your goal. And I'll share a strategy for this later in the presentation. Another skill is self-regulation, the ability to control your behavior, your actions, and your skills in different situations. For example, when you go into the library, that's typically a quiet place. So you're able to regulate your, behavior to say, oh, I have to lower my voice. I have a hard time with that because I have a teacher voice. So my voice is very loud. So I have to do that often. Also, with following directions, you're able to control yourself, to listen to instructions, and then follow the directions. That's part of self-regulation. So self-advocacy we talked about. So speaking up for yourself and defending yourself or a cause that you care about. Internal locus of control, believing what you do and how you act makes a difference in the type of life you want. So believing that you're the driver and you can control what your life will be. Self-efficacy, believing that you can be successful in different situations and accomplish tasks. And self-awareness, knowing your own strengths and your needs and abilities. So these are just some of the skills that make up self-determination. Next slide, please. So how can you practice self-determination? You can do that by making choices, not waiting for other people to make the choices for you. You decide. So you set the alarms and, to get yourself up in the morning. You set reminders for yourself to, get ready to go to work or get ready for a meeting that you have to get to online, which I had to do this tonight. Making choices about the clothes you're going to wear, the meals you're going to have, your daily routines. That's part of being self-determined, and taking ownership of that and making those choices is one step towards being more self-determined. And then also asking questions. When something comes up, somebody asks you a question, ask you to do something, you ask more questions and you make your own decisions about whether you'll get involved. Try to solve problems first. Say something's broken, or you can't get, something to work. Like we were having problems getting our camera to work here when we joined the meeting, or you can't get the remote to work on the television. Try to figure it out yourself first before asking for help. That's part of being self-determined. And knowing your strengths, knowing what you're good at, knowing what your preferences are, knowing your interests that you have and the support you need for success. Being able to say, hey, if you could write this down for me instead of telling me what you need me to do, it works so much better for me. I really appreciate it. So that you need those visual supports. That's part of being self-determined. And then, of course, telling others what you need, like I just shared with you. Next slide, please. So when we talk about transition planning, it just always sounds so much more complicated than it really is. No matter what transition you have in life, it's really a process of identifying what you want and then making a plan to get there. Next slide, please. So we talked about how life is full of change, and you can always count on change. I say that often, as I am, changes occur to me almost on a daily basis, and I have to adjust my plan and figure out a new way to do something. So it could be changes in my routine, which often happens. People that worked at my office don't work at my office anymore, so I have to get used to new people and the way they give me the work I do or how to get along with them. Lots of things happen, whether it's, moving to a new place That's also something that's a transition for you. So what are some transitions that you have had? If you want to put that in the chat. And that's just something, if you want to keep it in your head, just things to think about. You might have family members that move away, and then so you're getting used to that kind of transition. College or a new job. Thanks, Jenny. Yep, that's definitely another transition to get used to. Right now is kind of the end of school for a lot of people that are around me. So I know that families and kids and employees, everybody's getting used to summer's here. That's another transition. What does that look like for me? So planning ahead for those kind of changes go more smoothly if we plan ahead. So great, some more ideas. Moving from living with a roommate to living on your own. Yeah, you know, that's a transition, and that's planning for that's important. A family member passing away, what's your life going to look like? That's another, that can be a difficult transition. Starting a new job for sure. In college. Yeah, thank you for sharing those. Those are great. So I'm going to share with you some, as we go through this, some different ways to deal with, handle, plan for transitions. So next slide, please. So when you're thinking about a transition, whether it's something that happens, like a family member passes away, or something you can plan for, like I'm going to college, you know, think about who am I and where am I presently? How prepared am I for this transition? What do I want in my life now and in the future? What can that look like when I go to college? What do I want that experience to look like? Now that I don't have this family member anymore, what do I need to do to help get myself through this? And maybe they did a lot for me, so I need to figure out taking on some of those duties. And then what steps do I need to take to get there so that I can have a successful life and be happy? So when you think about the steps, just break them down into small pieces. Next slide, please. So one of the first steps is to dream. We talked about what do you want that to look like? And a dream without a goal are just dreams. So you need to be specific. Next slide, please. So what do you want your life to look like? Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live with? Where do I want to work? And what do I want to do with my free time? And this is a dream of, you know, thinking about your future. So think about these questions and talk with your trusted friends and families to help you plan and set goals. Next slide, please. So setting goals, a goal is not a goal unless you take action. So you can just, and sometimes I take a piece of paper and I have a lot of ideas on it. And they're not goals unless I actually do something about them. So taking action is the difference between a goal and a dream. So you need to be specific about your goal. And here's a process for looking at that. Next slide, please. So this is called SMART goals, and this is a way of thinking about being very specific about your goals. And SMART goals are used in businesses all of the time and in schools and organizations, and they can be used by individuals because it's a really effective way of thinking through what you want your goal to be, making a plan, breaking it into steps, taking action, and then reaching your goal. So here is, so that it's called SMART. So the S stands for specific. So you are looking at what will be accomplished. Be specific. What will be accomplished with this goal? Clearly state what you want to do. Is it, and then you look at M, is it measurable? How do you know you're going to reach your goal? You need to not say, oh, I'm going to do this someday 20 years down the line. You want a goal that you can meet in a reasonable amount of time. So say it's, going to college. So you're doing that. Hopefully you started planning for that maybe 6 months ahead so that you know, or maybe in a year ahead, to say, you've applied for schools and you're going off to college. So what do you need to do? So you have a set time frame. Is it achievable? Is it something I can do? Or is it just really a dream and I'll never, win $1 million in the lottery? So that can't be my goal. Does it connect with other? Is it relevant? Does it connect with bigger goals? Going to college, because after I'm going to go to college, get my degree, and that'll help me with my overall goal of becoming a teacher, for example. And then time. You don't want it to run on forever. You want to be able to complete that goal in a reasonable amount of time. So the next slide has an example. So for example, this SMART goal, in 4 weeks, I'll get to work on time by waking up 30 minutes earlier each day and recording my progress with a selfie next to my clock. So the SMART goal is here. So specific, I'm going to wake up earlier so I'm not late for my job. Measurable, I'm going to snap a picture of myself next to my clock. Attainable, I'm going to stop watching TV and playing on my phone and go to bed 30 minutes earlier. It's relevant because I get stressed when I get to work late. So this goal will help me feel better. And then time bound, I said in 4 weeks, I'll wake up 30 minutes earlier and it'll be a regular part of my routine. So that's a goal that's very specific and it's a SMART goal. Next slide, please. So now it's time to develop. Now that you've set a goal, you have to make a plan to achieve the goal. And here's a tool, another way of planning. And this is a goal plan sheet. This was developed by the Virginia Department of Education's I'm Determined Center. And this represents the steps needed to accomplish a goal. So it helps you visualize the goal, the steps needed to accomplish the goal, who can support you along the way, and possible outcomes from attaining the goal. So from my last example, my goal is in 4 weeks, I will get to work on time by waking up 30 minutes earlier each day and recording progress with a selfie next to my clock. The green column, you see outcomes. The outcome for that is in 4 weeks, I'm going to be getting up 30 minutes earlier and arriving to work on time. And the next steps for that goal is I need to figure out if I need to change my evening routine so that I can get to bed earlier. I need to set alarms and reminders on my phone to remind me to get ready for bed at an earlier time. I need to set a wake-up alarm 30 minutes earlier than my current alarm. And I need to use my phone to snap a selfie with the clock when I wake up. And then the next column is the purple. Who can support me with this? I can ask others who live with me for help with my new routine. I can ask for help with setting reminders and a wake-up alarm. And I can ask a coworker for any changes they've seen in me or my work as a result of my new routine to help motivate me to keep it up. So hopefully I'm not as cranky at work because I've gotten the sleep I need. I'm not feeling rushed. I get to work on time. So that's just kind of a simple goal And as I said, these goals can be small goals, they can be big goals, but it's just a process of setting a goal, planning for the goal, putting it into action, and meeting your goal. Next slide, please. Okay, so who can help me in meeting my goals? This is an important question. As you dream your dreams and develop goals, who can help you? Getting help doesn't mean you're more dependent. You are building your community. You might hear a lot about independent living as a goal. Being independent doesn't mean doing things by yourself. We all get help in our lives. Building connections with others is important for an independent, successful, and meaningful life. So who are the people that can help you with little decisions and sometimes big decisions? I have some examples here, like family and friends, community members, co-workers, service providers. Is there anybody else that you lean on for help in your life? And you can put your, I appreciate you guys putting things in the chat. If you want to share that, people that help you in your life so that you can live the life you want. And you can just put it in the chat. People I go to church with. Yep, they're great. Paraprofessional in high school. Great. Family, co-workers, community members, church family. Nice. It's good to have people to help you. And we all have our people that help us. Case manager, great. All right, thank you. Thank you. Advocates. My elder son, wonderful. All right, next slide, please. So we talked about decision-making as part of being self-determined, and life is full of decisions. Some are easier to make than others. And there's really a spectrum of options when it comes to decision-making. At one end of the spectrum, a person makes their own decisions, and at the other end, someone else makes the decisions for the person. Here are different options for decision-making. And I will share with you at the end a resource that has all of these options defined. So when we talk about autonomous decision-making, it's the person does their own research and makes their own decisions. They might ask questions or seek advice, but they make their decisions independently. Then there's supported decision-making. A person needs help to get started with the decision-making process. They might request suggestions of where to find information or who to speak to for advice on a topic. They generally understand decision-making process. They've learned some skills to enhance their decision-making and can work through the process with minimal support. Then there's supported decision-making. A person needs more assistance to make a decision. They may need someone who can research their options and provide them with recommendations. Supported decision-making could also involve alternatives to guardianship. And then substitute decision-making. Guardianships and conservatorships are examples of substitute decision-making. Someone is appointed to make financial, medical, personal, and other important decisions once a person has been determined and competent. And like I said, there'll be a document on the resources slide that explains all of these decision-making options. Next slide, please. So putting your goals into action can be scary because you are challenging yourself to do something new, and working towards it can be difficult because you haven't done it before. but just do it. You can always go back and revise your goal or break it down into smaller steps so that it's achievable in a reasonable amount of time. Remember to celebrate the small stuff. If you have to wait too long to celebrate, then you might lose interest. So for example, for me, I set a goal for myself that I was going to have a garden this spring. I rented a space in one of those community gardens in a park nearby me because my yard doesn't get enough sun. And it was my dream. I dreamed, and this is what one of the master gardeners said, dream about your garden. And my dream is to have it full of beautiful flowers and vegetables that I can share with my friends and family. So this was April when I started my garden, and I started with seeds for many of the flowers and vegetables. And it's taken a long time before I'll have the beautiful garden I dream about. But I'm sticking with my plan by watering the garden, weeding the garden, celebrating the tiny little plants pushing out of the dirt, knowing and hoping that by July, I will have reached my goal. So that's an example of really, I'm trying to stick with it. I set a goal and I hope to achieve that by July. Next slide, please. So celebrate the small gains and the big ones. You deserve it because you decided to get in the driver's seat, look down the road at your life and set goals for yourself and live the life you want to live. And that's a reason to celebrate. Next slide, please. So this is the resources page. All of these, and they'll be sharing the slides with you all. These all have links to different resources that are available that are related to this topic. So I work at the Center on Transition Innovations, and we have free resources, webcasts, courses, and other materials to help you with preparing for and being successful in adulthood. The next resource is I'm Determined, and that's a resource to help build self-determination skills. And you can find the goal plan sheet there, as well as one pager, as well as videos that are nice to see and motivate you. The next resource is the Supported Decision-Making Fast Fact I told you about. The next Get Ready for Independent Living course. We call it a course, but it's a free course from CTI that anyone can use to build skills for independent living. We say that doing it together as an individual and maybe a trusted friend or family member helps you walk through what it means to live independently, including information on decision making, healthy relationships, transportation, and financial management. There's the goal setting and action planning sheet. That's the template we looked at earlier. And then PT has a life skills checklist. And this is a great resource to help you and those that support you figure out what skills you have and where you need to grow. And then the next one is the Workplace Readiness Skills Toolkit. This is a free resource from CTI, and that it has many activities that can be done at home with friends and family to help build your workplace readiness skills. And then finally, part of the work I do, or the main part of the work I do, is really working with preschool to high school students with disabilities, families, agencies, and those who support them. But we're really looking at transition planning, starting with the end in mind, so starting with the young ones. So this is something that I'd like, we just published that helps early educators, families of students with disabilities pre-K to 5 to begin career and transition planning in those early grades. So to help guide their educational planning and life after high school. So it's not something that it's talked about early. What do you want your life to be, starting with at a very young age. So that's another resource I wanted to share. Next slide, please. And the links to all of these, somebody put them in the chat. Thank you. And then here are some of the main state agencies for adults that can assist you with employment, education, and independent living. Each of these have specific requirements for their services, so you can check those out. Next slide, please. So this is our CTI. We do presentation surveys. Thank you so much for joining and engaging in this presentation, and I'd love your feedback on it. If you could take a moment to complete the survey, I'd appreciate it. You can scan the QR code or access the web address in the chat, which I might have to put in there. And then you can just put the title. There's a blank, so you can have the title there to put that in the survey, but I'd appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly, for your wonderful presentation. And I'm sure that there are some questions in the chat. Kelly has been providing this student support for over 30 years, so I'm sure this group has some great questions for Kelly. Rhonda or Heather, if there are any questions in the chat, could you please let us know?
Okay. Right now, we don't have questions at this moment, but Kelly will stay with us with panel. And if you think of any questions, please throw them in the chat and we'll grab them and present at the time the panel are speaking. Okay.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you, Kelly, for your wonderful presentation. I will now turn it over to Ms. Donna Robel, who will do the presentation on the panel.
Hi, my name is Donna Robel, and I am a regional network coordinator for the Center for Family Involvement. In addition to supporting families in the Southside Hampton Roads area, I work very closely with the Eastern IFSP Council, helping them with community outreach and assisting with the coordination of events such as this one. Okay. So this meeting is intended to provide important information to empower people to shape their own lives and discover the tools to make decisions that change the quality of life. Learn when to ask for support to help you reach your goals. I will serve as the moderator for our panel of experts to include self-advocates, family with lived experience, and professionals in the field. Rhonda, please keep us on time.
Yes.
So now I'll do our panelist introductions. First, we have Mary Miller. Mary is 23 years old. She graduated from Kecoughtan High School in Hampton. Mary is also a very proud graduate of the Project Search training program at Fort Eustis. For the past 3 years, Mary has worked for the United States Air Force with her work family at Fort Eustis Center, the Child Development Center. She's an active advocate for the disability community. Mary is active with the Virginia State Legislature, and in Richmond, Virginia, she is recognized for her ongoing effort to raise awareness of the needs of people with disabilities. In addition to being a member of the Chesapeake Sheriff's Office Elite Unitas, a volunteer law enforcement officer, Mary loves the performing arts, both off and on stage. Okay, Mary also, as we said, she loves the performing arts, both on and off stage. Beyond performing her role as Tinkerbell with the Arts Inclusion Company's Peter Pan production, Mary has been taking dance classes since she was 8 years old. Mary also loves to sing. She enjoys being part of Vocal Inclusion Company, where she is afforded opportunities to perform songs out in the local community and with Virginia Stage Company. Underground Performing Arts Collective, and Norfolk Harbor Park Stadium. Okay, so I'm going to get started with questions for Mary. Hey, Mary, are you ready?
Now you can tell us. Say, hey, Donna. Hey, Donna.
Hey, Mary, are you ready? I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay. In general, what information can you share about your transition experiences that could be helpful to share with the audience?
Well, what do you think, Mary? You have your notes right here, right? Right. About your transition, so you don't want to forget anything. That's why you wrote them down. Yeah. What's the first important thing? The important thing, don't and wait. Yeah, no procrastination, right? Right. Time is now. Okay? Okay. What is? Know what authentic diploma you will get from graduating high school. Mm-hmm. Like either an applied studies diploma or a standard diploma, because that depends on what kind of training or schooling you're going to get, right? Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what leads you into this. Professor training program is only for students who are receiving the applied studies diploma. Mm-hmm. What else can you? What other experiences? My experiences, result, in a community, attend your IFSP meetings, and a volunteer in the community, like church. Find something you enjoy with a hobby. Say yes. Opportunities. Like what, Mary? What kind of opportunities? Opportunities, like entertaining, meetings with your parents, caregiver. Can I tell them what SEAC is? Somebody might not know. So that's the Special Education Advisory Committee that each city in the state of Virginia has. It's for representation to the school board or the special ed department for that city. And parents, caregivers, students are welcome to attend and be involved. And it helps build your relationships with them, right, Mary? Right. And you get informed to make decisions. Okay? Okay. And you have one more. This is really important, I think, for you and your success. Okay. With the transitions. Really get to know your transition coordinator from your high school. It might help me to receive deployment soft skills training through a nonprofit. Right. So her transition coordinator, there's always one in each high school. Even though we have 4 high schools in the city of Hampton, there's one transition coordinator, and getting to be good friends with her and connections, building that relationship. That transition coordinator comes to the SEAC meetings. I mean, it's just relationships, right, Mary? Right. And with her transition coordinator, like Mary said, she got to learn soft skills. Now that's carrying over to her employment.
Great. So now that you've told me a little bit about the supports, and we know that you you hold a job, you're at work 5 days a week. And, you've had this job for 3 years. So can you tell me and share with our audience supports that you needed help with getting where you are today with your job and with the independence that you have each day? What support helped you get there?
Well, you got a couple listed there?
Yeah.
Okay. They're waiting.
Bill, resume,
I'm sorry, honey, right here.
the parents, advocates,
Uh-huh.
teachers, professionals, assistant, principals,
Mhm.
job coaches, stars.
And DARS, the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. Okay. What else?
And the most importantly
Mm-hmm.
was my parents.
Mm-hmm.
They drove me a fence.
Mm-hmm. And what about this?
One of my best advocates was my friend Joe Winner.
Why?
She helped me have a strong IFSPs
Uh-huh.
to tell the teachers what the supports I need as well as my future school.
Mm-hmm. Miss Jones, she rocks.
Yes. Yes.
That's a
And for
stick-
those that aren't that don't know Joan is she's a regional network coordinator with the Center for Family Involvement, and she assists families on the peninsula, at Hampton, Newport News, that area. And Joan has worked with Mary's family for quite a few years now, and has played a big role in helping Mary get where she is.
She has one
So
more-
Mary, please, I'm
You might-
sorry. Go
she-
ahead, sweetie.
Her other supports are right. Well, of course, she has her teachers and paraprofessionals in the school when she was there. But I think what we're looking at transitions. You want to read this part, Mary?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Job coaches and stars
Mhm.
are any kind of to go together. I had job coach with my first summer job at 16.
Mhm.
I worked for the city of Hampton at the carousel in that town.
Mhm.
Those job coaches helped me
Throughout.
throughout
Mhm.
my internships
Very
And-
nice.
and
Still today.
this is today at my job.
Mhm.
Very good. And I remember when you did the internship at the carousel that summer, I was so jealous. I was jealous that you had such a cool job. Okay, Mary, now I have another question for you. So for the folks that are on this meeting with us, what advice would you give them, or individuals that are just starting with the transition process, the transition into becoming an adult and being employed out in the community? What is some advice you would give?
Something jumped out at you when you talked about that. I'm going to start there.
Yeah.
Because Miss Kelly talked about one of the resources, but go ahead, honey. I'm sorry.
Reply
Apply.
to the 10 and the I am the determined summit at Jim U help me in a lot of ways. Help me understand that I have voice for my future.
And what else?
To know what are the kind of the diploma you really you getting the applied studies
Or the standard diploma, right?
Diploma.
Sometimes when we were talking with students, they didn't even know what kind of diploma they were getting. So knowing that early on, because with Project Search, you have to have an applied studies. It's only open to people with who are receiving the applied studies diploma. Right, Mary?
Right.
And let's see. Oh, and we talked about your transition coordinator, right?
Right.
She knows the process. And then there we go. How about here?
Okay.
Right here, honey.
All right. On a Project Search, and a training helped me get a good job.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. And I just saw something pop up in chat. Someone complimented your headband. Here we go. It's sparkly and beautiful, just like Mary. I love that.
A little bit more, Mary. Yeah, it's pretty. It's all right. It was a birthday present, right? From one of your friends, right?
Nice.
Right.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Mary. So now I have the pleasure of introducing Miss Bernadette Miller, Billie Miller, AKA Mary Miller's Public Relations Manager. So Billie is a proud mother of 3 children and has been married for 36 years. She's a graduate of Ohio State University with a degree in medical communications and received a commission in the U.S. Army upon graduation. She traded in her combat boots in order to assume the role of mother. Staying home to take care of her children allowed her to become a volunteer and advocate for many interests, including the American Red Cross, previous school PTAs, and Hampton City Schools Special Education Advisory Committee, and the Down Syndrome Association of Hampton Roads, as well as Aid Another. She was so proud of Mary's acceptance into the Project Search program, as we all were. It is that opportunity for Mary to continue training onto a path into the world of work, helping Mary become successful. There was a pathway with many ups and downs, but one day at a time, Mary persevered, giving her choices with decisions about classes, extracurricular interests, and of course her wardrobe choices. The choices are limited so as not to overwhelm her decision making. Billie says she also liked to give her ample time to complete tasks in order to avoid shutting down or unwillingness to complete the task. Billie appreciates this opportunity for her and her family to share their experience. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. Billie, I have some questions for you. Okay. So the first one, in general, what information can you share about your transition experience, or should we say Mary's transition experience, that could be helpful to share with the audience?
Okay. Thank you for having me. Donna and I go way back because our 2 girls are best of buddies. They share a lot of the same interests. Anyway, one thing that I would like to emphasize is what Mary said. Don't procrastinate. It's got to start. The time goes by so quickly. And we started Mary when she was in the 5th grade, attending her IEP meetings. Just maybe not staying the whole time, but just putting a face to that document, I think is important for the the staff that was sitting at that table with us, making decisions for her. I mean, she needed to be there. And Joan Bruner was a definite hero in our world, getting Mary to where she is. When I met her, Mary and I attended a resource fair. Mary was in middle school and we were having challenges, and Joan said, call me. So I did. Here we are, coming full circle. Let me look at my notes. I'm sorry, I got off track.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. At 14, I would say, please look into DAR's pre-ETS program. It's in the employment, I think pre-ETS, employment training.
Pre-employment training services.
So that helps the young ones kind of start thinking about the world of work and developing soft skills, like how to dress for an interview and how to, what to say and what not to say. And when Mary was doing that, we also got involved with the Future Business Leaders of America in middle school. The mentor or the advisor just insisted that Mary be part of it. She wanted to be inclusive. So she was exposed to that. And that's kind of how we started with DARS. And then creating the relationships. There's so many areas as a parent that you have to look out for the welfare of your child and planning for their future, typically developing or non-typical, if you will. But we liked to attend resource fairs, and it wasn't just within our city. Some parents think that when you have a challenge, it just stays in the building, but there's an administration that kind of runs that school. So being connected with them in regards with SEAC, that was invaluable to build those relationships, because a lot of parents don't come to those. We had sometimes more administrators at the meetings than parents. So you could talk to them one-on-one. You didn't have to wait on hold or wait for an email. They're right there. And then as Mary was getting older, she started doing presentations at the SEAC meetings. And here's the superintendent sitting right there. So that's pretty cool. You earn a lot of respect, and it's very empowering, and you feel like, you're getting somewhere. And it wasn't all easy, believe me. We had some challenges.
Sure.
But you also have to seek out the opportunities. They're not coming to you. You have to drive sometimes. We driving to the Virginia Beach Resource Fair because it's a larger school district. There's just more over there. So in regards to resources, so I just kind of go where the opportunities are. It's kind of how we've gotten through our journey.
Okay. So what advice would you give an individual just starting with the transition process? I think that's the one I just asked you.
No, there's one in regards to varied ideas about inclusion interpretations, but I can start with the advice. Starting process. One thing also is the waiver services. Some people say, well, I'm not even on the wait list. Why should I be on the wait list? Well, Mary was on the wait list for 14 years. She finally got it, and it's been very helpful. And that's, building different relationships with the Community Services Board, and you have a case manager, and there's intakes. I mean, it does take time, but that pre-planning and getting things in place really benefits your loved one.
Right. And I think that gets you looking towards the future.
Yes.
And preparing Mary for that, for what she'll do 10 years from now. That is definitely, you start looking at the future.
And also, when Mary went to the Undetermined Summit, so we've attended 5 of them, and the parents go as well. And I think Kelly had pointed out about the I'm Determined organization, if you will. Their active website is so helpful. It's not that it's, you know, a 4-day summit and they don't do anything else the rest of the year. They're very active on that site. I can't say enough good things about I'm Determined. But because they're pooling resources to empower not only the students, but the parents to where, oh, well, you've had that challenge. Well, this is how you navigate it. So PTSI was another organization or resource that Kelly had mentioned that I highly relied on in regards to, hey, does this IEP look right? Does it sound right? What do we do as a military family? What options are there? So they're very helpful resource for families.
Right. Okay. So sometimes families and providers have different ideas about our transitions into the future than we do. Have you ever experienced this? And if so, how did you navigate it?
Well, let's see here. Sometimes the inclusion part of school, that's kind of the gen ed classrooms. Wait a minute. The different ideas. I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so when we were going through school, she initially was in a functional class. So the big transition was to get her out of a functional class so she could actually be challenged and to learn. So we go through that all the way up to 9th grade, making sure that she's in the gen ed classroom with a paraprofessional support. And it was up to Mary to say, hey, I gotta scale back. This algebra is a way too much. And, you know, it was just like, wow, did we do something wrong? But we had to listen to her. She wasn't happy. And so there was no need to push. So that's why we went, the Applied Studies diploma is going to be much better. We'll try for Project Search. We knew that was an option. If she had that diploma, it wasn't the end of the world. So that really helped. Even though they're like, well, she's in a self-contained classroom. Well, she's still learning to the best of her ability. So I had a lot of pushback with people like, well, don't you want her in, in an inclusion classroom? Well, some of those inclusion classrooms, she was exposed to at-risk behaviors with at-risk students with behaviors that I didn't want her around. So that inclusion wasn't working for us in our school district. That was a big one.
Yeah. Okay, so how has your parenting evolved for your family member as they have moved through different phases of transition?
Okay. Well, I'll always be your caregiver, Mary. Make sure you have the best care and you have a happy life, right?
Right.
But as she's grown older, trying to become more of a mentor and a guide. We'll talk about her workday and workplace behavior. So sometimes I'll walk in with her and, the ladies at the front desk are, hey, Mary, how you doing? And she's so determined to get to work and get on the clock that she doesn't even take the time to look at the individuals and just have that conversation. So we're working on it, right, Mary?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So how have you balanced the desire to keep your child safe with their need for autonomy and opportunities for growth?
In our living environment, just something as simple as, so she's still living with us, right? Until we can no longer help you. But it's just something as easy as a grab bar for the bathtub, so where she can have success, having her take care of her own personal hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Oh, and with social outings, we tried to give her some leeway. Sometimes I'll stay at the social events to where I just kind of have an eye on things. But if I'm leaving her in a place, I want to make sure people are vetted and it's not just I'm going to drop her off at Busch Gardens. So
Mhm.
that's always going to be there for me because of her vulnerability. But she's aware. I mean, she knows, not the cross. That's taken a long time, just the safety of parking lots. And so it's a big world out there.
Okay, so before we move on, I just want, is there anything that you would like to share, something you feel like we haven't touched on? Is there anything that you want to share? And that question for Mary too, anything additional? And if not, that's fine, we'll move on. I just want to give you this opportunity to.
I do want to back up in regards to as they turn 18, and I know families get real nervous about guardianship. Mary doesn't have guardianship. We don't have guardianship of Mary. We just have various powers of attorney. I don't know how personally you want this, but with we have guardianship over her, her civil rights are taken away. She won't be able to vote. She wouldn't be able to marry. You can't go back. Once you make that big decision, it is very hard to revoke that guardianship. So we felt best of starting small. And Mary's good about me wanting to go into the doctor's office with her, into the doctor's, her appointments. So we get the right information and we know how to take care of ourselves, right? Right.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And we're going to have question and answer from our audience afterwards. So if you hang around, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Okay. So next we're going to move on to Mr. Jesse Monroe. Let's see if we can. Hey there, Jesse.
Hello.
Okay, so tell you about Jesse. Okay, Jesse was born 46 years ago with a physical disability called arthrogryposis.
No. Arthrogryposis.
Thank you, Jesse, which
Sure.
severely constricts the movements of his joints and muscles. Although he has full feeling, he has no use of his upper or lower extremities, except for his head and neck. Since 2017, Jesse has lived independently in his own apartment in Norfolk, Virginia, and received services through the DD Medicaid waiver. Jesse is a strong advocate, both statewide and locally, for people with disabilities. He is a self-advocate coach and trainer for the ARC of Virginia, a member of the state self-advocacy alliance called A Life Like Yours, and a member of a local advocacy group, Our Voices. Over the years, Jesse has worked alongside fellow self-advocates on many issues with some important successes. Some of these issues include increasing Medicaid waiver slots for those with developmental disabilities and raising the reimbursement rates for providers of services. Jesse looks forward to continuing to fight for what is right. Welcome, Jesse. Thank you for being with us, and it's so good to see you.
It's good to be here.
Yes, thanks for joining us. So I have a few questions for you. So the first is, in general, what information can you share about your transition experiences that could be helpful to share with people in our audience?
Right. So I lived with family members until I was 38 years old, and finally I decided, me and my family decided together it was time for me to live on my own independently. And when I first approached this with my case manager, I was given several really bad options: either live completely on my own and only get a minimal amount of assistance, which I didn't feel like was safe, or because of my physical needs, go into a nursing home, which it would be an awful situation. So at first I was very flabbergasted, but me and my family did our own research, and over a course of a few years or couple years, we found the right service provider for me that where I can live independently in my own apartment and get all the assistance that I need for my needs. And so I would just say that, for one, don't take the first answer you get as the final answer. Really, like, you should lean on your like case managers and transition experts, but don't only just rely on the GLIF. If keep looking for what you want to live independently, or what you want for your loved one to live independently, and look on your own, and just because there's always more options than others will tell you. And so that's one thing. And also just, as I think Mary and her mother said, start early. It takes, I'm surprised it took really years just for me to live independently from when I started that process to when I was living on my own. So just the earlier you can get started with things, the better. And just so
That, thanks for sharing all that. That is really that's good information, and I think it's good for people to know that that, like you said, don't just accept the one answer. Keep doing your research, keep reaching, keep asking questions. So Jesse, what support did you need to help you get where you are now?
I need a lot of supports. I needed to know, I need help from my case manager to know how to get on a waiver and what kind of services that would help you provide. I needed help from my family to do the research and to help me move and to give me support when I wasn't feeling like this was a good idea. I needed help from a lot of friends and family, and although and the professionals that are there to help me, just to keep going with the process.
Okay. All right. So sometimes families and providers have different ideas about our transitions into the future than we do. Have you ever experienced this? And if so, how did you navigate it?
Well, been a few times this happened. One, like when I was in high school, things were, different than they are now, I'm pretty sure. Like I and my family had to fight for me just to be included in regular classrooms. And their idea was me being in a second grade classroom. So, and then later on, I think a lot of people had an idea of me really, because of my physical needs, be incapable of living on my own. And so we had to say, no, that's not what I wanted. And
So your family, they were in support of you living independently?
Yes, they were. No, they really always were. And I know that's not always the case, but yes,
Right.
my family was.
Well, that's definitely a plus there. So you've already given some advice, but what advice would you give an individual that's just starting out with this transition process into independent living? What advice do you have?
My advice would be to really think about where you want to be, where you want to land, where you want to be a few years now, what's your end goal for living independently? And then really look at it. When you look for what you need, what portion you need for that, really look at it through the eyes of, this is what I want. And don't take no for an answer, but also take advice from people when they, about how to get to your end goal, and get help from people. Don't be afraid to get help.
Don't be afraid.
But also don't be afraid to tell people this is what I want. So, yeah,
Right.
so it's both of those things. And also just want to reiterate again, start as early as possible. That is really the key goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, yep. Mhm. Yep.
And that is something that I often tell people that I know with disabilities that are just starting out. And I think it's important, you know, to know who your people are, know who to ask, and know, and as I always tell my daughter now that she's 21, and you know, there's no shame in your game. Let people know what your needs are, where you need support. I know oftentimes people with disabilities kind of just back off. They don't want to ask too many questions, or they'll take that no and just accept that when it's important to let what your needs are be known. I think that's really
Absolutely.
okay. So what would you say now to a younger Jessie Monroe?
Oh, I would say don't take so long to live independently. I think I way too long to do it. And I feel like it is so much better for me living my own. I do the things I want to do. I have a job. I out in the community. I do, you know, it's just so much better. So I would say, yeah, I would tell my younger self, yeah, don't wait. Don't wait too long. So,
Don't wait.
yeah.
Okay. So Jessie, how long approximately did it take a lot of planning? Were you able to just reach out to your caseworker
No, it took a lot of
to
planning.
get the ball rolling? It took a
Oh,
lot
no,
of
it took a lot of
planning.
planning. No, because I had to apply for a waiver, and then, of course, now it takes, I mean, like years and
Right.
years. And years. When I was, 'cause when I got a waiver, it was like when this waiver process first started. So it was a few years, which I thought was a long time, but now people are waiting even longer than that. So it took a year to just get a waiver, and then I had to get first. I reached my caseworker who gave me a lot of bad, not good options. So then I had to do me and my family had to do our own research, and then bring that back to the caseworker. So it took like I said, it took several years from when it started when I finally moved out of my own. So yeah. So no, it wasn't simple at all.
So is there anything else you want to add before we move on? Now we're going to take some questions from the audience when we're finished with the panel.
Yeah, not really. Just
okay.
Just if you want to live on your own, just keep going with it, and just
That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, you have just given us some great advice, Jessie, and I love seeing you out in the community and at the art convention. It's such a pleasure to see you and to see how well you've done. So thank you. If you will stick around, and we're going to take some questions from our audience soon. Okay. All right. So next we are going to.
Please mute me so I don't interrupt everyone else. Yeah, thank you.
Norma Draper. Norma's still with us here. There she is. Okay. So this is Miss Norma Draper. Norma Draper is the grandmother of a young man with significant disabilities, which motivated her to become an advocate for him as well as others with disabilities. Norma is the Aging Family Specialist for the Center for Family Involvement at the Partnership for People with Disabilities at Virginia Commonwealth University. She's a graduate of Partners in Policymaking and served on the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities. She has served on the ARC of Virginia State Board as well as the ARC of South of the James. She worked with Parent to Parent of Virginia for many years and was a service facilitator for the DD and CCC Plus waivers for 13 years. She has served on numerous committees with the goals of enhancing the lives of people with disabilities and their families. She has attended numerous conferences in order to increase her knowledge and to pass it on to others. She's made many lifelong friends during her years of working with families and individuals and cherishes each one. Welcome, Norma. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'm the Aging Family Specialist at VCU, or the partnership, and my grandson is the very reason that I got into being an advocate for people with disabilities, and he's now 39, so I've been doing it a while. And in his last few years of school, I requested that the school have a representative from the Department of Rehabilitation at his IEP meetings, and I asked for a vocational assessment, and I requested that we create a transition plan with goals and explore employment options. And I think I didn't give you time. Did you give me time? Did I give you time to answer my question?
I'm going to ask you some questions, but you know what, Norma? You just took off, and I just let you fly.
I'm always in a hurry.
You did a great job, and I want to tell our participants that I have met your grandson Justin on many occasions, and just I know, and he adores you as well, and you and his mom both have done a great job with Justin. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the first question. I just hate to interrupt you just had it going on there, Norma. Okay, in general,
I should have in hurry on my license plate.
In general, what information can you share about your transitions or Justin's transition experiences that could be helpful to share with our audience?
Well, one of the things is when they begin coming into adulthood, which they consider 18 and above, that they need to make sure they're receiving any sources that they haven't been receiving. For instance, my grandson was already receiving SSI. But if your family member has not yet applied for SSI, that's an important step in transition. Upon reaching the age of 18, the family income is no longer applied towards that person. Like, when they're younger, if your family makes too much money, they don't get SSI.
Right, that's true.
But they should also apply for Medicaid if he or she's not already enrolled. And I also researched transition information and where I could find it. I spoke to other parents who had experienced transition for their loved ones. And it's always good to know as much about transition as you can when you're advocating for anybody, whether it's your member or your family member. And of course, Kelly's presentation, I think, really covered a lot of that as far as the things that you need to do and know. But that's pretty much it on that question.
Okay. So what advice would you have for aging families as they plan for a future transition?
I'm like everybody else, and that's the first thing I tell them is start early. Educate themselves on opportunities and services for their adults as they age. And I also encourage the family to find out what the family member with disability would like their life to be in the future. And I usually try to tell them to see if they can set up a special needs trust, because we're not going to be here always. And, their financial needs may not be met by just Medicaid or whatever. And, that's for their health and stuff. But for their financial needs, it's always good to have a special needs trust. And dependent upon the person's needed level of care, a lot of people don't like to hear the word guardianship, but there are different levels of guardianship for people. And it depends on what their intellectual disability is, whether they can make informed decisions about their health and welfare. And, you can have a guardianship that isn't strict. It's like there's three kinds: full, limited, and co-guardianship and short term. So they can try for any of those. But I would also request that they get an intake at their local community service board to see if they qualify for a waiver if they don't already have one. I try to have as much as possible in place because before I'm no longer able to advocate for my family with a disability, I could either be gone or just not able to do it anymore.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So what advice would you give an individual that's just starting with the transition process?
I would try to find somebody to help me, for one thing. Find somebody to help me navigate the options, like employment, housing, resources, organizations. I mean, there are a lot of just charity organizations that help people achieve things and, get things that they need, besides things that Medicaid doesn't cover. And I also say anything that's available. Again, I encourage them to research everything that may have anything to do with transition and use that knowledge to make your life better. Because the more you know, the more you know.
That's right. You're exactly right. So sometimes families and providers have different ideas about people making transitions and navigating their own future. Have you ever experienced this challenge in assisting Justin and other families that you've worked with?
Yes, I have. And for instance, if a family felt that their family member with a disability should go to day support, and the person don't want to go to day support, they say, I'd rather work. Then I've tried very carefully to continue to convince the family that there's many jobs that a person with a disability can do with the proper training. I've used my grandson, for instance. He uses a power chair for mobility. He's nonverbal, but he can use an iPad, even though his fine motor skills are limited. He works at Panera. He's been there for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets tired, so he don't work too many hours, but he enjoys the social part of being in the community and people greeting him and he greeting them. And they also have another young man there who has a disability, and he cleans tables and takes out the trash. And I also encourage people to contact Department of Rehab too for that, because they can sometimes help them to understand that that person may not want to be a janitor and they may not want to, do a lot of things, but people have ideas of what they want to do. He wears a uniform. Some people like to think that they could have a job where they wear a uniform. So, there's different things, different levels. I was in the hospital a while back, and they had people working in there that had disabilities that was going around replacing the gloves that they have on the wall. And he had somebody follow him, but it was really neat because he was so happy with himself. And that's just ideas of what people can do that maybe others think they can't do.
Right. So Norma, can you briefly tell us about Justin gaining employment at Panera? I know it's been 17 years, and I just how that came about.
Well, I kept telling him I wanted him to find a job because I didn't think I wanted him to sit at home all day, and I didn't want him to go to day support and sit over in a corner somewhere and not get any attention because he is nonverbal. He's not he doesn't instigate things, but he's very observant and he listens to everything. It's like, he's all up in our conversation with his gestures. He watches TV, and if they're kissing, he's going. But the thing is that I felt like that he had the smart enough to do something. They did several situational assessments on him. One of them was a radio station. He was going to be erasing tapes, but then they were using these cassette tapes. But his fine motor skills wouldn't let him do that. He had one where he was supposed to stuff envelopes. That didn't work, because he's fine motor skills. But I told him I wanted to have the DARS fellow there at the transition meeting. He made the appointment at Dara. And when we got over there, I had to take him because he has, have a handicap bed. When we got over there, he had forgotten he didn't show up, the DARS man. And anyway, we went through with the interview, and that was like, I think, November or December. And in January, they called us and told him they wanted to come to work. And apparently, somehow they got remarks from the public at the home office, and they came down because they were using the hours that they used to train people to pay him at that time. They took some of those.
Mm-hmm.
He came down and says, no, pay him regular like everybody else. We're giving you the money. And I thought that was really good of them that they did that,
Right.
They noticed that this was important. Of course, they got their tax break too. But
Well, that's just a great story.
yeah, but I think people should pull in every resource they can think of, especially while they're in school, and get started. And he has to have an attendant with him, because if he needs a drink or something, or if he has to go to the bathroom, somebody has to help him. But he does, and it works out well. And
Right.
a lot of people have come in and talked to him. And actually, I know Smitty at the
Mm-hmm.
up in Washington. He came down and did a video of him I don't know how many years ago it was, but there was a guy there, and the manager came out and they'd done a video with him too. And when we went up there one year, they asked us to come up there, and they played the video. And it's still on YouTube, I think, but they did the video there, and they came and did a video here of Justin. But there were people up there that he had met that actually was in the video too. And this particular one of them, he was one that got Justin into this racing with his racing chair in like 5Ks, 10Ks, and all that. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he had several people that push him, and he loves that. He'll pop out of bed at 3:00 in the morning to go to that, because you got to get there early.
Is that the Hoyt? Is that the Hoyt?
No, Hoyt does that, and there's also Angel, which I think has taken over.
Oh, Angel,
United
yeah.
Athletic we used to be with.
That's a nice.
Yeah,
nice
but it's a good
organization.
thing, and it's something he can do and enjoy. Like, he can't play baseball because he can't hold the bat. I mean, we might try it, but I don't think it's going to work.
Sure.
He'll watch it on TV, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. So
Donna, we have about 7 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to do this. No, you're doing fine. We have some good comments too. Okay, one last question. Sometimes families and providers have different ideas about people making transitions and navigating their own future. Have you ever experienced this challenge of having to advocate for the person and helping the family to understand their role in supporting the person? And if so, what was the most effective approach to navigating this cooperation?
Very carefully. Very carefully, because you can't have the mom and daddy mad at you. But you want to try to help the child or the person, get it through to them what they want to do. And, there's just, you just have to kind of wade into it and see where it takes you. And, different families have different ideas. Different families work with you better. And it's just one of those things you kind of have to play it by ear and go with the flow. Right.
Well, Norma, thank you so much. You have really shared a lot of good information.
I talked to you.
No, you did a great job. Thank you. So, thank you for your attendance and interest in this educational topic, and thanks to our Eastern Regional Council members for organizing this meeting. We are now going to take questions. Is that right, Rhonda?
Yes. So Heather and I have been gathering your questions, and we're prioritizing them. If we don't get to everyone's questions, the answers will be available post-meeting on the slides. We'll get them answered, and you'll have the information, and you can review it at that time. Okay, Heather?
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This panel was amazing. You all taught me new things, each and every one of you. I think we all learned a lot. And I just loved watching all the inspirational things coming in to the chat, all the love pouring out. It's great to see. So the first question is for Kelly, and this question is from Brandon. The question is, how do we actualize or realize self-determination if the self and self-determination is highly directed by others? That's a tough question to start you off with, but it's and it may not be something that, you can answer right now, but it's something to think about. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Kelly, or if anybody else wants to, any of our other panelists want to mention anything. Kelly, start with you.
Yes, I saw that question earlier, and Norma kind of just touched on it too in terms of waiting, handling those situations very carefully, and respecting the individual as well as the people that support them. And sometimes I always feel like minds get changed when you see things in action. So if you can show, like we had this panel of, people with disabilities, taking charge of their lives and living a life they want. And so sharing those kind of success stories, I think, is helpful for people to see, and that, you can still, have a relationship with the person you support, but allowing them, like I had, in the driver's seat and letting them lead, and you support them along the way. But that is a difficult situation. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts about that.
May I? In regards to Mary, when with Project Surge, she gets 3 internships, and she really wanted the dental clinic. She's talked about the dental clinic for, since elementary school. I don't know, dental procedures, fascinated. Well, COVID had hit, and they didn't know, she was the first class that came in after COVID, and the clinic wasn't accepting our Project Search interns at the time. So they suggested, how about the Child Development Center? And we never thought, right, Mary?
Right.
We're never around babies. And come to find out, she was a perfect fit. So our advice is to be open to opportunities or advice from professionals that might know, just give it a try. And keep your options open, is what I was saying.
Thank you both. Great answers. Okay, next question is for Billie, from Charlene Odom. The question is, where are these transition meetings held in Hampton? Referring to the school transition specialist who helps support preparation for young adulthood.
Well, Hampton is very fortunate to have Sherry Hildebrandt as the transition coordinator for the district. Her first year was 3 years ago when Mary was going through Project Surge. She loves our kids. She is determined to set them up for success. There's not really a transition workshop, if you will, with her, but she will provide, have a meeting with her. I mean, she is so willing to talk with parents, and she's usually at the SEAC meetings, your transition coordinator. Early on when Mary was in high school, we had a different transition coordinator, Melanie. But anyway, Sherry Hildebrandt, just go to the Hampton City Schools website and give her a call and tell her Mary Miller Center. Right, Mary?
Right.
And she just received a big award for one of the top transition coordinators for the state of Virginia. So we're lucky to have her.
Wow, that is great. Okay, another one for you, Billie. And maybe Mary, you could also answer this if you like. So the question is from Anthony, and it says, most of our kids are super friendly to everyone. How did Billie go about teaching? Or Mary, how did you go about learning about personal safety?
Wow, because I'm not with you at work. Well, thank God for job coaches, because she did have a personal safety issue walking one of her internship sites. You're learning, learning to cross the street safely. And when the drivers don't acknowledge that there's a crosswalk. You know, had the job coach not been there doing her job and being vigilant to yell Mary to get out of, you know, she wasn't with her next to her, but close enough range to where Mary, you know, that woman saved Mary's life. So I don't know how, I know you have to let them fly. And it's a definite learning curve. I mean, it's hard. I like I said in a previous, my panel discussion with, when she's at social events, I make sure that it's vetted. And if I'm not, and I love going because I love her friends. I love being around. It's just good energy. But the parents, we kind of like to stay back and just observe. What do you think, Mary? Do you know, how do you, about your personal safety at work?
Safety, run it both ways.
You look both ways when you're crossing the street now?
Yeah.
What about if you have a problem at work? You know, to go to your supervisor?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's nice. You're not going to get in trouble. You know that, right?
Right.
Because you just need help. It's ongoing learning and experience. I hope that helps.
Yes.
Did you
thank for
find that, I have a question for, did you find with the personal safety when issues came up that you had the conversation and then you actually practiced like an appropriate response to being more careful, being more safe?
Well, absolutely. And we had to go to the post commander because the MPs are supposed to be at that crosswalk, knowing that our interns were going to be navigating the crosswalk. But they happened to have a different priority. They just set up like a new speed limit. So they had them, you know, off course, and leadership would not have known that had we not went in and advocated and said, look what happened on base. And so things changed. And I noticed now that there's a lot more the sensitive crosswalks with the blinking lights when somebody's engaged on those. I mean, that should just be a standard for now, because people, if it's not blinking, they, you know, barrel right through. But it's a money issue. But I have seen a lot more on posts since Mary's been there in the last 3 years. So going to the supervisors or post commander leadership to make change does help.
Great. Thank you. And I am going to add something in the chat, another resource, kind of a similar topic about being safe. There's something called LEAP, which stands for Leadership for Empowerment and Abuse Prevention. So we all, you know, have to learn throughout our lives how to be safe in relationships. And so LEAP teaches people how to trust someone and who should be trusted, what it means to trust someone, about healthy and unhealthy and confusing relationships, and lots of different things to help us all stay safe. And so I'm going to put that in the chat in case that's a resource anybody wants to check out. Another question we have is for Jessie. And this is from Christine. This is a great question. How do you overcome the fear of failure of making it on your own? We all have that feeling when moving out on our own for the first time, but throw in a disability and it could make the fear even worse.
Jesse's muted.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, okay. That is a very good question.
Isn't it?
I think for me, I wasn't as worried about failure because I knew I had a backup network and family to fall back on if something happened. But my fear was just safety issues. Like I felt like would I be able to feel safe and secure, and was this the right decision for me along those lines? And it was tough for When I first moved down, I almost quit the whole thing and almost called my family and wanted to move back out. But you just have to, especially the beginning, you just got to push through it and tell those voices no. And then it eventually gets easier and you realize it was right decision and you can't do it.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, that is a really, really good question and a great answer. And then I think the last question we'll ask tonight is for Mary. Are you ready? Can you share a new goal that you want to accomplish in the next year? Or another question would be, what is one thing you dream of for your life?
What do you want to do in about a year?
Or is there something you've dreamt of that you want to do in your life?
Like in your performing arts, like with your shows. What do you like doing there? Doesn't have to be jobs. Yes. You look at them.
Performing arts.
What do you see yourself doing with Arts Inclusion Company or
A company
or vocal inclusion?
the vocal inclusion. The adoration.
That's the teacher. What do you like? What do you want to do?
I want to do singing.
You like to just maintain being on the stage, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
She want to be a star. All right.
Yeah, she and Donna's daughter just did a recital last night in front of about 300 people.
Oh, so you already are a star. Great.
I hope that helps, right?
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Mary. So I think that is it. There were some questions in the chat that we will answer, like Rhonda said, on our materials that we share in our archives. The link for the archives on the My Life, My Community website are also in the chat. And so we usually post those a few weeks after the meeting, so you can check back there. And thanks for the great questions and the great answers.
And we're going to turn it back over to Ebony.
Rhonda,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
remind everyone.
Donna.
Yeah.
It's still Donna. Yeah.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. And again, thank you all for attending and for your interest in this topic. Thanks to our Eastern Regional Council members for organizing this meeting. Please complete the post-meeting survey after the meeting. Heather is going to share that information in the chat. And so now I'll turn it back over to Ebony Atkins for the closeout.
All right. Thank you, Donna, and thank you, everyone, for a great evening. Just a couple of reminders and updates. Heather, please drop in the chat that the recording and PowerPoint slides that will be shared on My Life in My Community website. Heather, please also drop in the chat that the IFSP Community Facebook page will have a link there as well. The next IFSP State Council meeting is Friday, June 27th, 2025. 12 p.m. until 2:15 p.m. Information session is Office of Integrated Health Network Mobile Rehabilitation Engineering Team. As a reminder, state council meetings are open to the public, but there is no opportunity for public comments. The next IFSP Coordinated Regional meeting is Thursday, July 17th, 2025, 6 p.m. to 8:15 p.m., developed by the Northern Virginia Regional Council. The educational topic will be transportation options, resources, and alternatives. To receive the latest updates from IFSP, please make sure you are subscribed to the mail list. Heather, please share the link in the chat. And once again, we want to thank all of our presenters, our panelists, and the Eastern Regional Council for a great session tonight. Miss Kelly, Mary, Bernadette, Jesse, and Norma, you all did a very good job. To all the attendees and participants, you are greatly appreciated. We hope you have found this information useful. We also hope that you take time again to do our post survey and have a great night. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.